Everyone cherishes their home. During Chinese New Year, people head home to reunite with their families with nostalgia and care for them. The reunion dinner on Chinese New Year's Eve is filled with the taste of home. The ingredients and dishes chosen and the standards in which they're made are still traditional. These New Year dishes are steeped in people's reliance on nature, their pursuit of good flavors, and their memories of old friends. They get together each year to enjoy the New Year reunion dinner. Since ancient times, the reunion dinner has placed great importance on meaning and luck. Phrases like the rising of the sun and moon, good fortune as one wishes, and prosperity year after year contain homonyms for the words chicken and fish, both seen as auspicious New Year symbols. On Chinese New Year's Eve, close relatives and good friends gather around the warm fireplace and share delicious food together. Chinese New Year is a day for all families to get together. The rural houses and the smoke from chimneys provide a type of warmth that people living away from home look forward to. The reunion dinner is one of the most important feasts of the year. Those who can make the feast also have the best cooking skills in the family. Jia Aixin has lived in the grasslands since she was little. Although she's never made the reunion dinner herself, she was influenced by those who did from an early age. She began studying during summer vacation to make her family satisfied. The elderly man is the village's only surviving Mongolian soldier who worked for the founding of the People's Republic of China. He is Aixin's best teacher. Over 91 years old, he is still in good health. He's not only able to take care of his wife suffering from bronchitis, but also to collect firewood from the mountains. Normally, firewood needed for the entire winter can be gathered in the summer. Aixin's parents aren't at home. The family's sheep have been given to her uncle 15 kilometers away to look after. After the sheep is slaughtered, cut the meat with bones apart from its joints, separate the meat into several pieces, place it in a pot of cold water and cook it without adding salt or seasoning, and then boil it over high heat. Gorlos is the only Mongolian autonomous county in Jilin province. A year ago, Aishin was admitted into the Gorlos Mongolian Middle School. The family hopes Aishin will have a bright future. Bao Gaohua and her husband, Jia Yan, discussed and decided that she would work outside of their hometown, making money to raise her family, and her husband, Jia Yan, would look after Aishin while she's attending school in the county seat. When the pot is opened, the mutton emits bubbles and wafts inviting fragrance. Warmth can be felt just by looking at it. Late in the evening, Aishin learns that her mother has arrived at the entrance to the village. After a year, the mother and daughter are reunited on the evening of Chinese New Year's Eve. Gaohua works in Guangzhou. She rides a train for 2 or 3 days with a suitcase full of gifts for her family to get home before Chinese New Year's Eve. The anticipation of reuniting with her family alleviates her of all exhaustion. Since having not seen the other for a year, the mother and daughter have tons of things to tell each other. But Mum has travelled a long way. At this time, Aishin mostly wants her mother to try the food she's made. Before the reunion dinner, her grandfather leads male clansmen to a faraway place to light a bonfire and worship their ancestors. The clansmen prepare food, including meat and snacks, and alcohol to put in the fire. By offering the sacrifices through smoke, they wish to get the spiritual protection and blessing from their ancestors. While waiting for her grandfather and the clansmen to complete the sacrificial ceremony, Aishin sequentially takes the cooked lamb meat out and puts it on a plate for the feast. The diet of Chinese people contains the philosophy of life. The head of the lamb is taken out first, signifying a start from the beginning. Eating racks of lamb on Chinese New Year's Eve is a traditional Mongolian custom. They use their hands instead of chopsticks. It tastes delicious and is easy to digest. The reunion dinner on the table is a gift Aishin has given to her mother. Everyone's eyes look genuinely happy and their mouths are filled with the nice smell of mutton. Her grandmother has a few bites of the Mongolian milk tofu that her husband made and drinks a few cups of liquor. The reunion dinner is the most significant meal of the year. Hopes and feelings fill everyone's heart. It's the representation of warmth, love and reunion. People in northeast China like simplifying things when it comes to food and have the custom of drinking a big bowl of alcohol and eating large pieces of meat. They eat large quantities of food with strongly defined flavors. In Yichun, Heilongjiang, high and densely forested mountains are covered with snow, have clean air and produce vegetables and berries. They are ideal places for raising boars. At the beginning of April, thunder booms and everything begins to regrow. Wild green onions sprout, pear flowers blossom, and fallen petals are sprinkled across the area. Li Wei-chen can't wait to make preparations for the winter. Wild vegetables taste refreshing and are good for the spleen. Hogweed, Artemisia integrifolia, Siberian ginseng and wild green onions are scalded in boiling water for a few minutes, then taken out and firmed up in cold water. The water is then squeezed out of them. They're molded into spheres and placed in the freezer. At the end of September, fruits ripen and leaves fall on Wuhua Mountain. Harbin pears are sweet, sour and delicious. They quench the thirst and are suitable for winemaking.
山林特别少，没有多少人能采着这个东西。山林酱酒的味儿非常非常好。
It's the alcohol that Li Wenchen has specially prepared for this year's reunion dinner.
这边分2个人，完了这边呢从这块再上去，这样呢咱们给他们圈一下子，鼓上去，是不是？扣上咱就谱上。
快跑！快，慢着！
把刀给我取来。好。
By cooking boars raised free range on a 600-meter mountain himself, Li Wei-chen keeps the original methods of mixing ingredients and processing.
大姐，刚才不行打好几次电话了，肉都炖好了，就等咱俩回去呢。
这回回去得多带点了，上回来咱没吃够，这回回去多带点。
His brothers and sisters gather in Yichun from Sanya to spend Chinese New Year with him.
行，好，马上就好，马上就好。
啊，这是没熟过，熟悉，太熟悉了。我都多大岁数了，这都使过去的了。
The The whole family enjoys the delicious wild vegetable dishes and fragrant wild game dishes while chatting and laughing. The distant and wild taste drives away the cold of the winter.
小仙岭那个山里头那个野山梨酿的酒。
This is China's New Year's Eve that breaks the silence with light and warmth. Within the both constant and changing wisdom, a strong yet distant flavour is derived. In northern China, cold weather further highlights people's preference for strong flavours. Napa cabbage is scalded and removed from the pot after being put in cold water. It fills the bottom of the vat and is sprinkled with a layer of salt. This is done repeatedly until the vat is full. The Napa cabbage is then doused in cold water and pressed down with a large stone. A month later, the pickled Napa cabbage that northeasterners consume in the winter is ready. The pickled Napa cabbage is one of the commonest ingredients for making the reunion dinner in northeast China. Other than Napa cabbage, cabbage can also be pickled. Nina is making sauerkraut with her mother. Shredded cabbage and carrots are put into a jar and mixed with star anise leaves and salt. Seven days later, the first step of the fermentation process is completed. At this time, the jar is moved outdoors. The low-temperature fermentation preserves the protein, inorganic salts, and vitamins in the pickled cabbage. Potatoes are added to make a kind of soup, which is the commonest type of soup on the tables of ethnic Russians' reunion dinners. The flavour created through the accumulation of time can be preserved for a long time. It can also satisfy people's nutritional needs, while vegetables are scarce in the winter in northern China. The place where Nina's family lives is called Linjiangtun. The Argun River winds around Liangjiangtun. About 1 kilometer away is a Russian village. farming and harvesting are done collectively in Linjiangtun. Wheat, rape, barley and sesame are the main crops here. Over the past 10 years, as Nina had to work hard on the farm and her husband, Li Dejun, had to work on weekdays, they were unable to take care of their son, and thus their son had to go to a boarding school. Her son's biggest motivation to study is the Russian bread that Nina makes at home. After being fermented, the dough becomes puffy and soft. Only the unique Russian-style oven can create the special flavor of Russian bread. The baked bread is light brown and gives off the smell of slightly burnt sugar with crispiness and sweetness. This is the commonest food in Russian homes, and it replaces dumplings during Chinese New Year. At the end of the year, her husband, Li Dejun, gets paid. This is the major source of income for Nina's family.
今年开这点工资，年年够儿子上大学、姑娘上学用的吗？啊？这都为他们弄的。
At the age of 5, their son, Li Shekun, started to go by himself to a boarding school 170 kilometers away in Argun. After this year, he will be entering his last semester of high school. Since he studies hard, Shekun can only go home for Chinese New Year during the winter holiday. Chi, Nina's daughter, has long passed the age when children should go to a kindergarten, but there is no kindergarten in Linjiangtun. The Russian-style wood house engraved with patterns protects everyone in the family.
兒子明年高考，这次回来肯定会做一些他比较爱吃的菜。
The reunion dinner menu was set by Nina and her mother a long time ago. The main ingredients of dishes are the commonest food: potatoes and cabbage. Minced beef added with seasoning and starch is stir-fried together with potato strips. This is the way Russian beef and potatoes are made. Likewise, minced beef mixed with rice and seasoning is wrapped into cabbage and steamed. nice smell of Russian beef wrapped in cabbage wafts around. The staple food for the reunion dinner is Russian bread. The children can't wait to try the foods their mother made.
生我姑娘那会儿啊，我儿子瞅着她第一眼就跟我说呀：“妈妈，你可不要像没照顾我那样的不照顾我妹妹呀，让她好好的长大。”慢点，小姑儿。没事，一会儿把那个鱼整一整。
Nina is good at making Russian cuisine. She can make many types of food using a few ingredients. Li Dejun, her husband, is Han Chinese. The pairing of Chinese and Russian dishes makes Nina's reunion dinner unique. Nina decides to stop working after Chinese New Year and she'll go to Argun, 170 kilometers away, with Chi Chi to send her to school.
家里活儿没事儿，你们放心去就行，都能干了。你们到时候放心就行。
行，我就把他俩照顾得好好的。
正好我这也不合适了，也可能去。
行，两个一起陪，都陪。将来我们也考好的大学，好不好？像哥哥似的。好。真乖。新年好呀，新年好呀，祝贺。
Nina will leave her home to make sure that her children will have a better future. The simple yet grand winter foods are precious. However, as people's material lives are being enriched, it's easy to obtain fresh food today. The land of 3 countries can be seen in one glance, and the crowing of roosters can also be heard throughout them. Hunchun Jilin is at the border of China, Russia and North Korea. It's only 48 kilometers from North Korea's Rajin port. It's close, but not adjacent to the sea. The smell of the ocean sometimes blows over. Every day, seafood is continuously imported through Tuanhe port. During Chinese New Year, the atmosphere is especially busy and festive. Today, it's already completely possible for people to enjoy fresh food during the reunion dinner.
Today, 是受伤的，每天都要受伤。送到上海，我过春节马上给他们送新菜品。打包打习惯以后吧，你看别人打包的时候吧，你都想上去帮两下忙去。
These days, people are no longer stuck to the idea of eating reunion dinners at home. During Chinese New Year, people living south of the Yangtze River would pay a visit to a temple in the city and burn incense to worship Buddha. They believe this will bring them luck in the new year. They go to restaurants and experience Chinese New Year's reunions there. The distance between Hunchun and Tongxiang is 2,400 kilometers, which presents a big challenge in the preservation of seafood. This batch of seafood must be sent to families in the south as fast as possible before the reunion dinner.
第一次坐飞机，飞机上的免费餐不敢吃，怕要钱。我当时觉得吧，有钱给媳妇儿孩子带点啥。
Crab is a delicacy. Crab dishes are considered to surpass all other dishes. The reunion dinner dishes are prepared in the bustling kitchen. The large crabs from Hunchun are tasty with abundant roe. They're steamed with garlic. Although the preparation method is simple, it allows people to enjoy the tasty, sweet flavour of crab. Chinese mitten crab, also from Hunchun, is cooked with curry, which has a strong flavour. This dish is sweet, spicy, and suits the palates of people from southern China. Crab dishes are served during the reunion dinner, symbolising prosperity in the new year. The elders give red envelopes that they prepared in advance to the children. Reunited families stay up together to welcome the new day. Chang Le began working during his teens. He knows that hard work is the knack of earning money and that honesty is essential to keep business running.
这个大家伙好啊！你有多货？
长期供应可没问题的这个。
到过年的你也挺不容易，这些货我都要了。
哎呀，谢谢你，谢谢你。
你也该早点回家过年去了啊。
Despite the long distance from Shanghai to Hunchun, he looks forward to gathering with his family. After delivering the last box of goods, Chang Le can't wait to go home at the thought of his family waiting for him to celebrate Chinese New Year.
我一开始做海鲜生意就是因为媳妇爱吃海鲜，没想到越做越好，什么也顾不上。现在觉得亏欠家人和孩子。
His wife, Song Jia-shin, is preparing the reunion dinner at home. The best dish is stir-fried crab legs. The crab legs that fell off during shipping were collected, and Chang Le will cook them after coming back home. Since his parents passed away long ago, Chang Le celebrated Chinese New Year alone for many years. After marrying his wife, he understands the meaning of family reunion better.
做水产的时候，海鲜嘛，这腿掉的比较多，所以说是扔了怪可惜的。后期我们就做成菜了。
A harmonious family will prosper. There's nothing people want more than the happiness of family reunions. This is the original reason for people's deep reliance in their hearts on Chinese New Year and their families. On the banks of the Yalu River during the 12th lunar month, fish have entered their peak period for laying eggs. Tang Yongjiang and his family are busy selecting them. In order to shorten the period that the eggs are exposed to air, the Tang family works quickly. The largest, brightest and healthy fish eggs are transferred to cold water ponds. 7 days later, little fish can be seen swimming. Tang Yongjiang and his family squat on the ground every day for several hours. Soon Chinese New Year begins to approach. Chinese New Year makes mountains that were normally quiet become unusually lively. Fish buyers continuously visit them. Nowadays, fish is still an irreplaceable dish of the reunion dinner. In order to buy fresh, big fish, many people come here.
那个大的没有了，有小的了。现在啊，大的没多了，现在小的没有了。吃起来吃跟底下还有呢，你瞅瞅看看啊，看看那个啊，你看看那个3年挣那个。
At this time, his wife and son come from a city a few hundred kilometers away to reunite with Tang Yongjiang.
就是你看着他吧，应该特别心酸，到现在始终就自己。我进屋做饭了啊。
进屋了吧？
It's been over a year since the family of 3 last got together. The Tang family has made a living raising fish in spring water for 7 years. 7 years ago, however, this place was just a wasteland. By relying on himself, Tang Yongjiang built fishing grounds for hundreds of thousands of cold water fish. Hard work makes the impossible become possible.
我来的时候吧，一根白发没有，我来的时候，一根都没有。
Spring water circulates very slowly deep underground, and it's closed off. The water temperature remains between 9 and 12 degrees Celsius. It's pure, suitable for the growth of rainbow trout, golden trout, sturgeon and Siberian salmon. Wang is a fisherman on the Yalu River. The fish he catches are sold directly to Tang Yongjiang and become natural bait for the cold water fish. It didn't rain much this year, and a large amount of shoal is exposed, making Tang Yongjiang especially worried.
老王啊，鱼看有点小，想长一长，先干点别的，暂且别着急。
Respect for nature and laws are the principles that the Tang family follows in doing business. His mother is over 80 years old. Every day she deals with the beehives left behind by her husband. His father started beekeeping in his teens. He raised his kids by selling the honey that won praise from customers without promoting or peddling any. After his father passed away, his mother carried the beehives and came to the fishery with Tang Yongjiang. They take care of the business here together. Customers visit them for their good reputation. This has brought a very good income in for several generations of the Tang family. People who live frugally won't stint money at this time. They would buy a few fish to bring home, as fish symbolizes prosperity. After sending away the last guests, the Tang family's Chinese New Year's Eve begins. As usual, the reunion dinner is still made by the mother, who is already in her 80s. Iron pan braised fish and honey-coated sweet potatoes are must-haves for the reunion dinner of the Tang family every year. Iron pan braised fish is delicious with a drifting, nice smell. As daughters-in-law tell other family members busy around to eat, Tang Yongjiang's mother is already seated at the honorable seat.
哎呀，高兴的了不得！他盼的也是盼的春节，儿女都离他身边，老人的概念是儿孙满堂嘛。
Her Jia village is surrounded by mountains. and the only way to a nearby market is 10 kilometers away. Zhang Song's family has lived here for several generations.
今儿还行，今儿还不冷。那些年赶车二大边打担架桥啊，我要打两下，只能打一个了呀，就单个了。现在小鸡都打不住了。
Dried vegetables have always been major ingredients of the reunion dinner. This tradition has lasted for decades. During those dull and difficult days, dried vegetables were the only supplementary ingredients in the winter. As the Spring Festival draws near, the town begins to get busy. The market here is a grand gathering. For Jiang Song's grandfather, who is over 60, going to the market has been a habit of his for a long time. The last market before Chinese New Year is especially important for him. With enough dried vegetables for his family, he sells the rest to buy household necessities. Bracken harvested in early spring is placed in cool shade away from the sunlight to be dried after being scalded in hot water.
别搁太阳底下晒，一晒就发黄了。搁那个阴凉地上让它干了，完了搅润儿一泡完像新鲜韭菜一样，可好了。
Bracken, dried by the wind, is all green when it's cooked later. In summer, the vegetables harvested from the vegetable garden, like beans, eggplants and chilies, are dried.
过去人们没有办法解决冬天的这个菜的问题，完了就是发明了晒干菜。
21岁结婚，一到晒到这些年，
晒一辈子菜。
Li Chou is the right time for making dried potatoes and cucumbers. Nowadays, though fresh ingredients are abundant, the taste of dried vegetables is still irreplaceable.
这活了可得功夫了。
Cucumbers are cut into pieces and mixed with plant ash. The potassium, calcium and other nutrients in plant ash make the cucumbers emerald green and enhance photosynthesis. It's not easy to dry vegetables. The plucking season, time spent in hot water, heating, sunlight and methods of storage, all these should be decided according to the experience accumulated.
吃好了，吃胖了，过年好干活。这真挺看耐造的。我嘴巴都白了。
爷，我们回来了。
啊，回来了。
啊，回来了爷。
哪去了爷？
办这年进来的，买好多吃的了。
买点啥呀都？
鱼，
我给你往回拿啊！
还有好东西，
拿去等着你们。
今天稻花呀，今天生菜卖的好吗？还行，还行。我买的啊。
年吧，蒸饺子就用的菠萝叶，可清香味儿了。
It's the first time for the granddaughter-in-law to go home to celebrate Chinese New Year. To make a reunion dinner that can't be found in the city, Jiang Song's grandmother and mother have been busy preparing throughout the year. All kinds of dried vegetables gradually stretch after being rehydrated. A seemingly simple reunion dinner with some implied meaning is ready.
今天过年了，给你们做点这个传统菜，让你们也忆苦思甜。这么多年就是吃这个菜长大的啊，别忘了过去。
我孙媳妇就头一个过新年，她高高兴兴的多吃点家常便菜，比那个市里那个。 大鱼大肉有滋味有味道。谢谢啊！
这铁饼干老好吃了。
The dried vegetable feast, which has been a tradition for years, is remembered by children this Lunar New Year.
按明白了，完你们再拿回点儿，这都是绿色食品，回家吃个新年。
Jiang Song and Yan Yan now live in the city they work, Changchun. According to the old tradition, their own house cannot be empty on the first Chinese New Year after their wedding. The new couple must rush back to their own house before midnight. In the land of northeast China, people obtain different kinds of harvests through the accumulation of nature and undying hard work. These harvests are fully presented during each Chinese New Year. At the same time, ancestral techniques passed from generation to generation can not only remind people of the past, but more importantly, they transmit a family's cultural presence. People express their love during Chinese New Year by returning to their hometowns and showing care for family members. After traveling to different places, people settle down at home. Perhaps the most direct understanding of Chinese New Year is reunion. Through reunion, people feel at peace and warm.